Hey there guys, back at you with another video, another case from the vault of Unsolved Mysteries. Now I actually did this video last week, and I usually nowadays with the past few videos that I've done since I came back with the Michael Hunter one a few years ago, I usually go back and listen to the case just to see how I thought that it would sound and how it turned out, and if I like it, I usually keep it up. And I did this case last week, and I just didn't like the way that it turned out. I figured I could have did a bit more of a better job at it, and I felt that I needed to do some more research, and there was a couple of things that I wanted to say that I didn't keep in the original segment or in the original video, so I ended up uploading it and re-listening to it, and then I just, like I said, there was more I wanted to talk about that I didn't get in the video, so I figured I would give myself kind of a week or a few days to kind of prepare a little bit more, try to find some more stuff on this case, research it a little bit more, because there's really not a whole lot out there, and I'll get into that in this video a little bit later. But I'm not going to keep rambling on. I'm just going to get into it, and I'll talk more about it, and we'll discuss it, and that should be it. So this is the case of Jim Kimball. So Jim grew up in Oak Park, Illinois. He was the sixth child in the large Kimball family. Jim's family described him as shy, quiet, and that he was a good person that he was easy to get along with, and that he never went out of his way to hurt anybody or make any trouble with anybody. He stayed out of trouble, so he was very introverted. He kept to himself. He probably didn't have a whole lot of friends. He probably did have some friends, but not a whole lot of friends, and he just kind of, kept to himself. And I mean, I can relate. I'm a very introverted person. I keep to myself. I don't really have a whole lot of friends. I try to make friends and stuff like that, but it's definitely, for me it's difficult to do, but yeah, so I mean, I can kind of relate to being that, and sometimes there's certain people, some people are introverted, others are extroverted, others are kind of a mix where they're introverted and extroverted, so, everybody's different, and Jim Kimball was certainly that way. So, on August 16th, 1982, when Jim was just 13, his father passed away unexpectedly from a heart attack. Jim's sister Sharon said on the day of the funeral, Jim seemed very quiet, and that while the family were deep in emotion with their own grief, Jim seemed almost unaffected by the loss. He didn't seem to be crying or, carrying on with his grief, or it seemed like he was keeping most of his emotions within him, inside. It was definitely the sign of something was wrong in the world of Jim Kimball. As teenagers, Jim and his brothers formed a garage band, and almost 3 years to the day of his father's death, the bottle of emotions of Jim Kimball boiled over to the surface. Jim and his brothers had been jamming. Jim was playing the drums, when suddenly he stopped playing, and he threw his drumsticks and went into a catatonic-like state where he was pretty much staring where it looked like he was staring into nothing. Tom Kimball, Jim's brother, states, Jim was acting strange, and he was afraid for him. He suggested that the family take Jim to go get checked out. Jim was later diagnosed with schizoaffective disorder, a mental disturbance marked by mood swings with unusual thoughts. And, yeah, so, I mean, I don't know if that has anything to do with why he was quiet during his father's funeral and all that, but it's very possible that it could have been the reason why. Or maybe he wanted to wait till he was in a more private setting by himself to kind of do that. Because, I mean, everybody grieves and takes losses differently, and I think maybe it could very well have a schizoaffective, it could very well be why he reacted that way with the schizoaffective disorder, or, yeah, I don't know, but I believe that, like, obviously he always had this, but maybe it didn't, I think maybe when his father passed away, that was kind of like when it was kind of the thing that triggered it, but like it didn't fully, it wasn't fully showing. And then I think as it got closer to the anniversary of his father's passing, I think that's kind of when that triggered it even more, and then that's when they realized that something was off with him mentally. And so that's when they got him checked out and noticed that he had this or discovered that he had this mental condition. And originally, I thought that schizoaffective disorder and schizophrenia were kind of the same thing, but they're actually not. They're similar, obviously, but they're very different. And the reason why I thought that was because like this took place in like his father passed away in the '80s, the early '80s, and this case obviously took place in the early '90s. And around that time, I would say, just based on what I've like looked into and stuff and seen, I think that mental illness was obviously a thing. People knew about it. There was medications for it, but I don't think it was well known as it is today. I think nowadays people are more knowledgeable with mental health and more compassionate with mental health, and I think there's better medications and different ways to deal with mental health than what there was back then. And so, just based on me not being really educated as to what schizoaffective disorder was, and thinking that it was schizophrenia, I googled it when I was making notes on this case originally, and I decided to look up and kind of just educate anybody else that maybe thought kind of the same thing as I did and didn't really know the difference between the two. There's not much of a difference, but there's a little bit of a difference, so I'll go into that right now. Schizoaffective disorder and schizophrenia are distant, chronic psychotic disorders, with the primary difference being that schizoaffective disorder includes permanent or prominent mood episodes such as mania, depression, along with psychotic symptoms. And I believe there's some kind of like bipolar tendencies with schizoaffective disorder too, which I think is what they mean by mania. I'm not exactly sure, but that's what it sounds like with the mood swings and stuff like that. While schizophrenia is defined by psychosis with fewer or less emphasis on mood changes, schizoaffective disorder has a more positive and moderate outlook compared to schizophrenia. So schizophrenia is more, like hearing voices and stuff like that, which there's a little bit of, in the Unsolved Mysteries segment, there's an interview with the psychiatrist who interviewed Jim when he was, I think, a teenager. And he had mentioned that Jim had heard voices, and I'll go into that in just a second here. I'm just going to take a quick sip of water, and then I will continue with that. So, this is from the interview with Dr. Raymond E. Robertson, who is a psychiatrist and professor at Loyola University in Chicago that treated Jim. This was obviously, like I said, it was a voice. I guess it was a phone interview, and they recorded it and had it on the Unsolved Mysteries segment. So, this is what Dr. Robertson had to say. So, Robertson noted that Jim seemed confused, that he heard voices, that he felt sorrow as well as anger, which had stemmed from the passing of his father. Jim required medication over the next 8 years. He was in and out of the hospital. He experienced many relapses and recoveries. Despite this, Jim graduated high school and managed to hold down a few jobs. He eventually moved into a halfway house 10 miles away from home. I've been, obviously with my case research, I've obviously been looking into different things, and like I said earlier, there's not really a whole lot on this case, and I will go into that in a minute, but a lot of people have been giving the theory that maybe the medication that he was taking wasn't the right medication, or they misdiagnosed him, and I'll go into that a little bit more once I give give the theories that I've seen and my own theory as well, once I go through a bit more of this case. So, on Easter weekend in 1993, Jim showed up sooner than he was expected. He walked from the halfway house over to his mom's house, and Frances Kimball noted that she didn't expect him to be there. That Jim's mother is Frances. She didn't expect him to be there, and that she said that his brother could have came and picked him up, and she seemed very happy that he had went from all that trouble to walk all the way home to her place, and it seemed like they were getting. I think she said a lot of the family was there, and that it was looking to be a pretty special holiday for them. So I mean, it's kind of a shame what happened next, because she seemed very happy and positive and looking forward to the Easter season. So, um, unfortunately, the happy atmosphere was altered a lot when Jim became frustrated with the family's new stereo system. Jim's brother Tom noted that he was having lunch when he heard a commotion in the basement. In the Unsolved Mysteries segment, which Tom reenacted, also Frances Kimball, Jim's mother, also was in the segment, and what I had just summarized there was actually reenacted in the segment with Frances and the actor playing Jim, about him coming home and they were carrying groceries and they were walking inside and she was saying, like, your brother could have came and got you or something like that. So they were involved in the reenactments, which is why I think they're pretty accurate as to what went on here. So Tom asked why Jim was destroying the house. The two brothers had a minor setback, or a minor back and forth, sorry. With Tom asking if Jim was 5 years old, Jim responded that he was 5 and told Tom to get out of his face. Tom said to Jim if he wasn't feeling well, he should go to the hospital. Jim declined and said he was going for a walk. The two brothers cleaned things up, and then Jim left, and that was the last time Tom Kimball had seen his brother. So Jim soon vanished. The family searched frantically. Jim's sister Sharon noted that Jim left with no coat, money, or medication. For 11 months, the family searched tirelessly, making phone calls, searching homeless shelters, and distributing flyers across the country. Well, I don't know if it was across the country, but definitely across the state of Illinois. However, no trace of Jim Kimball was ever found. However, the family soon had a reason to hope, as in March of 1994, almost a year after Jim had gone missing, 90 miles in South Bend, outside of South Bend, Indiana, 90 miles from the Kimball home in Oak Park, Illinois, Indiana State Trooper Tom LeBon had encountered a man matching Jim's description. LeBon had asked the man where he was going, and the man replied, east, maybe Boston. LeBon thought that the man may have been drunk and proceeded to give him a breathalyzer. Though the breathalyzer result was 0-0, 3 weeks later, Officer LeBon saw the flyer of Jim, and he noted that the picture matched the description of the man that he had spoke with. But as of since the 1994 possible sighting of Jim, there's been no updates, at least that I know of. And right now I'll go into a lot of theories and just what I've been able to find on it, which isn't much, unfortunately. I spent the last week searching through Google, searching through YouTube over different things, and trying to find anything, and there's really not a whole lot on Jim Kimball, other than the Unsolved Mysteries segment, and then there was a video that a girl had done on it like 5 years ago, I think, and then there was actually a YouTube channel by supposedly Jim's brother, and I'm not sure which one it was or not. It could be Tom, it could be one of his other brothers, I'm not really too sure. It's a big family, so it could be either one of them, but I actually remember that channel from around 10 years ago, because obviously back then, like I've stated in numerous videos, John Cosgrove, Terry Muir, the people who created and owned the rights to Unsolved Mysteries, were taking down videos back then. And back then, obviously, I was looking for cases, and other people were looking for cases that they liked to watch. And I came across this Kimball Brothers channel, and I do believe it's Tom Kimball, I believe, but I'm not sure. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I came across this this YouTube channel that had the segment on it. It also had another video on it at the time, which was, I think, like a news segment from, I think, 93, when this whole thing happened. That was like, the title of the video was like Jim on TV or something like that. I'm not 100% sure. But, yeah, and back then I thought it was legit, and I questioned myself at the time. I was like, why would Cosgrove and all them from Unsolved Mysteries allow him to have this segment up? And then I thought about it a little bit more earlier today, and I remembered a case that was Mel Wilson, I believe the guy's name was. and I haven't watched it in a long time, but basically he was a guy that had like some kind of like counterfeit money operation, and where he would print counterfeit money and stuff like that, and he would he would like start families with different people under different aliases, and then he would eventually, I think, as the cops would get closer to discovering his operation, he would disappear. And one of his daughters actually had this segment uploaded and still has it actually uploaded today, which is surprising to me that she was able to keep it up all this time, because I think that video is now like 10 or 11 years old at this point. But yeah, she had that uploaded too. So I was thinking at the time that Tom Kimball, or whichever Kimball brother who owns that channel, I figured had the rights to it, because obviously the family being included in the segment and all that, and just based on Mel Wilson's daughter having his segment up, I was like, maybe he has the rights to the video. But now I looked up that channel last week, and it's still up. You can still find it, and it still shows the video of the Jim Kimball case. But when you click on it, it was removed by I forget who it was removed by. It wasn't by Cosgrove or Unsolved Mysteries or anybody like that, or even Filmrise. It was removed by somebody else that I guess said they had the copyright to it or whatever. So it's still up. You still can find it. I think the video was like Jim Kimball missing since 1993, and I think it was like a playlist or something like that, and it said something like, "I just want my brother back" or something, I believe, is what that segment, or is what that playlist said. And there was other videos, but those were removed as well, so I'm not sure exactly what happened. But yeah, it still can be found. And but yeah, I mean, other than his original YouTube channel, and then the girl's channel that I discovered the other day when I was researching for this case, and now this video that I'm doing now, will kind of be the only thing out there about Jim Kimball, which I'm very surprised about. But then again, I guess maybe because there's been no updates, as far as I know, that I could ever find since the March of 1994 possible sighting of him. I think maybe that's why, and maybe people haven't really looked into it, so that's maybe why there's not a whole lot on it, because there's not really much to cover. That's the only thing I can think of. And I mean, I tried searching Google and YouTube, and on Google, like, you can't even really find anything on him. Like, there's something for the Charlie Foundation, I think it's called, which is missing persons cases, and you can find that. Like, you can find like it gives the description of Jim and all that, and when he went missing, and I think the possible sighting too on that, and I think Name Us is the other one, I believe it's called. And there's a listing of him, and kind of the same thing as the Charlie Project one, that it lists him as a missing person, and he'd been missing since this date, and his height and weight, and when he was last seen. So, other than those things, that's really all I can find on it. And I mean, I think there's a Chicago newspaper website which has an article from 1994 and 93. But obviously that's not recent, so I'm not sure if there's been any updates or not. I would imagine Jim's family are still actively searching for him, because obviously he has a big family. So, but yeah, but I did find a Reddit post from around 10 years ago, and where it was a person that was on identifyus.org, which I tried to click on and nothing came up, so I don't know if the website is still active or not. I would imagine with the link not working anymore, maybe it's a broken link, I don't know. But I tried to access it, and it didn't really come to anything. Like, it just kept loading and loading and loading, and I know it's not my internet, because my internet was working fine that day. Just for whatever reason, that wasn't loading properly. But they had found there was a picture of skeletal remains on the poster that they thought could be Jim. But as far as I know, I went through the Reddit post and there was no update. The last post that I seen that was on that update from the person that was replying to other people in the thread, it said they were going to call, I think the Chicago police or something like that, and let them know about this skeleton that had been found. But as far as I know, that's the only update, or not update, but that's the only post, or that's the only part of the post and partial update that there could be on Jim. But there was no update on if they called them or what their findings were on that. And yeah, so I don't know. I mean, I think if it was him, it would probably be more well known, and we would probably know. But unfortunately, we don't. So, and I was thinking about reaching out to the person on Reddit, because you can message people on there. But I wasn't sure if they would even respond, because it's 10 years ago, so who knows. But but yeah, so that's pretty much it on the whole case there. I mean, I'm going to get into my theories and stuff right now, but I do want to give a quick little thing there where Jim's mother, Frances, actually passed away in 2008 at, I think, age 72. So that's pretty sad that she passed away when she did, not knowing whatever happened to her son. Because if you look at the Unsolved Mysteries segment, and if the news video that I referenced earlier was still up, you could see that like she was really actively searching for him and hoping she could find him, and just the family in general was hoping they could find him. And obviously to this day we haven't, which is a shame, because it's now 31 years since he had gone missing, or since the it's 32 years since he had gone missing, 31 years since the possible sighting of what the cop thought was Jim. And so just to have no update since then, and obviously Frances not having any kind of closure, knowing what had happened to Jim and passing away, that's always sad. I always hate that, but I do hope that one day they do find out what happened to him, and we can finally have an answer as to what happened to him, because that would be nice to really get a conclusion as to what happened to him. And basically a lot of the theories that I came across was, like I said earlier, when I was referencing the schizoaffective disorder, a lot of people seem to think that maybe he was misdiagnosed or was given the wrong medication or something like that, which, I mean, is definitely possible, because like I said, this had all happened in the 80s and early 90s when he was diagnosed with this stuff. And like I said, I don't think that like mental health and mental illness and stuff, obviously it was well known, but I don't know how good it was diagnosed back then, or how good the medication was for certain things back then. I think, like I said, I think personally it's looked at and studied and treated a lot more better today, obviously, in 2026 than what it would have been in 1993 when this happened. So, but I mean, I think he was properly diagnosed, because it just, from what the doctor had said, it sounded like it sounded like he had schizoaffective disorder. So I don't think he was misdiagnosed. Could he have been? Yeah, but, and I mean, maybe that's why he acted the way he did that day on Easter. But I don't know. Apparently, from some of the stuff that I found in the investigation at the time, Jim's family had said that he actually had stopped showing up at his job, just I think before Easter. So, and they thought that was a possibility, that he had stopped taking his medication. And I do think he stopped taking it. I think, in my opinion, maybe he didn't like the way that he felt, that it made him feel. So maybe that's why he stopped taking it. I'm not really too sure. But maybe that would explain why he had that outburst and why he walked away on that day. So yeah, people have come up with that theory. Some people have said that maybe he's, and I've even thought too, that maybe he wandered off, and obviously, like his sister Sharon said, it was cold that day. He didn't have a coat. He didn't have medication, right? So he could have wandered off and got exposed to the elements and maybe froze to death or something like that somewhere. But I believe even if he did freeze to death and, pass away due to the elements or something, if he was still in Illinois, I think the family possibly would have found him by now if there was a big search done, which I think there was. So I don't think it was that. Some people seem to think that maybe he was taken against his will, which is, I mean, it was obviously a very possible theory, but I don't know. What reason would you have to abduct him when he didn't have any money or anything on him? Like, he was, so I don't really think that. Obviously, it's a possibility. It would explain why he hasn't been found all these years, but, I don't necessarily think it was that. Other people seem to think that, like, he's this homeless guy that's been featured that I've seen on the internet. I didn't really look too deep into it, but, like, I looked at him and I looked at Jim. I don't really see the similarity between the two, but obviously that could be a very good possibility that, like, he wandered off somewhere and he's in a different state or a different city, maybe even a different country somewhere, and he's homeless now, living on the streets. That could very well be a possibility, but I think even if that was the case, maybe he would have shown up by now. I think maybe somebody could have found him, but I mean, I don't know. I could be wrong. He could very well be. It's certainly possible. There's been other cases like that. I also thought that maybe he possibly could have disappeared because he didn't like the way that the changes were happening in his house. Obviously, I think being introverted and stuff like that, maybe he didn't take the change very well, and maybe that's why he disappeared. He was just trying to get away from all that, maybe start a new life from himself. But again, I don't really think that was necessarily a thing either, because he wasn't on his medication. So, but again, that's a possibility too. And I mean, there was a case recently that had just been discovered where a mom had went missing, I think back in 2000, 26 years ago, 25 years ago. And I think she had a family and she was trying to get away because I think her husband was abusive or something like that to her. And she was actually most recently found, I think a few months ago. And and it came out that she had a drunk driving, or like some kind of traffic accident or a drunk driving charge or something like that. So there was a theory that she ran away from that, but I mean, that just goes to show that, like, obviously that person went missing for 25 years and was found. So what's to say Jim Kimball couldn't be found? And my general theory on this that I want to just get into here is I want to believe that the guy that the cop seen who thought he was drunk was Jim Kimball. Now, I do have some questions as, like, with that whole thing. Like, obviously he thought he was drunk, right? And he tested him. He was 0-0 on the breathalyzer. And I do have to wonder, and I do have to question that, like, if you think this guy is drunk, but then he doesn't blow anything into, like, he doesn't show up as being drunk on the breathalyzer, why wouldn't you still keep him in custody? Why wouldn't you take him to a hospital or something like that to get him help? I wonder why Officer LeBon didn't do that. That's a good question definitely a good question as to why he didn't do that. And again, I think I could go with the theory that, like I said, this was the early 90s. Mental health wasn't really a thing back then. Well, not that it wasn't a thing, sorry. But it wasn't really as well known back then. And I don't think the cops had training for assessing mental health like they would today. So maybe that's why. And I think maybe, I don't know, I think the guy maybe was just, like, the officer just thought that maybe he was just acting strange for some reason. I don't know. But that's what I do question. Like, why wouldn't you take him to a hospital or to the police station and try to get him help if you thought he was drunk? Because clearly, if he's acting that way, that would be pretty off to me as to why he wouldn't blow anything on the breathalyzer. So yeah, that's some questions I have to that. But I do want to believe that is Jim, because I mean, obviously, this cop seemed pretty sure that it was him. So I want to believe that, and maybe I don't know. Maybe he is living on the streets, homeless somewhere. Maybe he's at some kind of mental hospital, lost in the system, and they have no way of identifying him. There's tons of different theories that you could go to and point to when it comes to this case, and that's why I wanted to do this case. I love these type of cases. There's just so many different ways that they can go, and this is certainly one of them. And it sucks that I couldn't find as much on this case as I wanted to, but I think I did the best with what I had and what I could find, and I think this is going to be another case that I'm pretty proud of, and it's nice to be back. It's nice to be doing this thing, but yeah, I do think that he probably is out there somewhere, and hopefully they find him. Like I said, I mean, anything can happen, right? So I do hope that they do one day find him, and they have answers, and they eventually can find him, or if he's passed away, they can bury him, and they can finally at least know what happened and have some kind of peace, because they've been dealing with this for over 30 years, and it's sad when that happens. But I mean, that's why I do these videos, or that, yeah. And I'm a small channel. I don't really get a whole lot of views like I used to. But I mean, if I do a video and it gets out there, maybe it can help the case in some way. I don't know, but it's one of the reasons why I started doing this series in the first place. Anyway, is because of these kind of cases. Because obviously, I love doing the murder cases and stuff like that. But when it comes to missing persons cases, that's a bit more deeper and meaningful to me, because it's always been kind of a fascination as to, like, people can just like vanish just like that. It's just there's no locate. You can't find any location or trace of them at all, and it's like, a lot of these people, a lot of the family members, parents, they pass away without knowing what happened to their kids, and it's a sad thing. So I try to do these cases for the families that are out there, and there's, like I said, there's a lot of different theories and possibilities as to how it could have went down. So I'm not going to keep rambling on about that, but yeah, I mean, that's my theory. That's pretty much the case on Jim Kimball. I will leave the episode to this segment, and as well as a timestamp to it, in the description of this video. I meant to do that in my last video about the boys on the tracks, but I forgot. And then I was looking at the Michael Hunter video the other day, and I realized that I did that for that case. So I will do that in this case. If I can do it for the boys on the tracks case, I'll do it in that one. So yeah, I actually did make a new Twitter because I lost my access to my other one. So I made a new one, but X, or Twitter as I still call it, for whatever reason, suspended my account. I've appealed it, and that was a few days ago. But as of right now, I don't have any. Yeah, I haven't got any kind of like update on that. I appealed it, but there's no update, so I'm not sure what happens with that. But if I have to make another one, I will. And if I do make a new one, which I probably will, I will put it in the description of the next video that I do, if I make one by then, and hopefully they don't suspend it. Yeah, it's good to be back. It's good to be doing these videos again, like I said, and I appreciate people like you guys who are subscribers, or people that are new to the channel that are coming and watching these videos. I really do appreciate it. And yeah, there's definitely going to be more. I was thinking of doing, actually, since I brought it up, the Mel Wilson case, Mel Wilson, because there's a lot of things in that case that are interesting to me. When I was kind of briefly looking at the video today, I didn't watch it, but I was like looking at the video and the description and some of the comments, and there's a lot of different interesting theories in that. that have got my attention, so I think I'm going to cover that next. I'm not sure, but there's a lot that goes into it, and obviously with that case being a person's case, there's a lot of theories to that, so I'll be going into that probably next. I also want to do the Permian Gilbert one because I've never done that one. I was actually shocked that I didn't do the Jim Kimball case. I thought I would have, but I guess I didn't, so but I've done it now, and I'm gonna upload this in a few minutes, so it'll be ready for you guys to view, and hopefully you enjoy it. And it's good to be back and doing these again. I've been enjoying doing them. It's been nice doing them again. So yeah, and I mean, if possibly a member of the Kimball family comes across this, because I have had different family members from different cases reach out and watch these videos, feel free to give an update in the comments, or if I have a Twitter account by then, if you end up watching another video of mine and it's in the description, please feel free to give us an update on like what had happened, or the current investigation now, if there's any updates on that. I would love to hear it. If you guys come across this video, feel free, please reach out. I would love to hear an update. And yeah, if there's anybody else that has any theories or thoughts on this case, feel free to give me your thoughts and theories in the comments section of this video. If you have any other cases you'd like for me to cover, feel free to suggest them, and I will certainly do my best to cover them and try to give you the very best that I can, as I've been doing within these last few videos. So I don't want to keep rambling on because this video is at like 36 minutes, but yeah, if you want to like the video, like it, share, subscribe, comment in the comment section, and as I always say, I'll see you in the next one.